Disappointed! Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Obsessive Compulsive Gaming. I am the Obsessive Compulsive Gamer, and this is my review for Let It Die Inferno. Disappointed! So now viewers, this particular video game released quite recently, and you're probably saying to yourself, OCG, you oh so talented chap, you, who occasionally likes to shout out the word disappointment randomly in the review for this video. What the hell is this video game? And I'm so glad you asked, dear viewer. This is the latest entry in the Let It Die franchise. A franchise that began with Let It Die several years ago, which was a particularly fun, albeit microtransaction-ridden, free-to-play video game with some quirky humor, a kind of Souls-like gameplay, and boss fights more ridiculous than looking at Bertrum in a dress. When I'm in a dress, though, I'm rather ravishing, if I don't say so myself, and I do say so myself. So in this game we play as a raider, an immortal adventurer, who has to travel down through various levels of hell, I think, to find an artifact. And there's also an organization who's also going for the artifact and all that other crazy shenanigans. Whereas I recall the original Let It Die a Souls-like, in which we made our way up a giant tower, floor by floor, killing enemies and those ridiculous boss fights I mentioned earlier, this game feels much more like a roguelite. For better, and mostly for worse. Disappointment! So let me try and explain how the game works, the only way I know how. Badly. So essentially every single time you die, you lose all the supplies and gear that you picked up in this stage, and even your own body. So when you quote-unquote revive, you can either choose to revive in the same body you had before, or choose a different body. And these bodies have different mechanics. For example, one is very attack-focused, one is kind of a jack-of-all-trades, focusing on healing, and yes, some of the bodies are locked behind the microtransactions. So essentially the aim of the game is to get through the game's 4 chapters, all of the different stages, killing enemies, collecting a resource called something something, and this resource will allow you to upgrade your character's stats and all that other bollocks. Of course, there's a hub area which you can take on side quests, buy new weapons, craft items. It's a roguelite. If you played a roguelite before, you know exactly what to expect here. Yes, the gameplay is fine. Yes, I love the visuals for this game. Yes, it retains the quirky humor and the ridiculous boss fights from the original Let It Die. But we have to get to the point where I tell you why this game was just so damn disappointing to me. So in the original Let It Die, there was a currency called death metal, and essentially this death metal acted as, well, I suppose, extra lives. So for example, if you had 50 death metal, that would give you essentially 50 lives. So if you died in one of the game's many floors, you could instantly resurrect with this death metal. In fact, so much so that the original game was a free-to-play game, and while you could earn death metal in the game doing the side quests and all that other garbage, I had absolutely no hesitating in putting my hard-earned, earned money down to buy myself a plethora of death metal. I can't remember how much exactly, 100 or something. And that was more than enough for me to get from the beginning of the game to the end with little to no problems. So you can imagine my surprise when I go to pre-order Let It Die Inferno and see that the edition I have selected, an edition, might I add, unlike the original game you have to actually pay for, that I would be being given 300 death metal at the same time. So I thought to myself, oh, that's very generous. I'll definitely be able to complete the game with that. Wrong, because in this game, death metal doesn't act as extra lives. It merely acts as a kind of currency in which you can buy items and extra bodies from one of the vendors in the hub world. Oh, that's slightly disappointing. Well, maybe there's a different currency you use to revive in the stages. Nope, wrong. Basically, if you die in the first stage, you go right back to the beginning. If you die in the second stage, you go right back to the beginning. If you die in the third stage, and so on and so forth. Now, I can't confirm nor deny if there's a checkpoint at any particular point in the game, because I didn't get that far, because I was far too disappointed with this game to get that far. But while you do retain the upgrades for the current body, if you die even once, you will have to go back and replay all the bloody stages you've already done. And not only that, you will probably lose all of the weapons you picked up along the way, all of the items you picked up, most of which will be better than the starting equipment that you had. And that to me is just unacceptable. I don't care if that's how most roguelites work. A lot of roguelites are deliberately simple to avoid such frustration. Like the recent Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Splintered Fate, Absalom, a game I might add I absolutely adore, but Let It Die Inferno still keeps the kind of, sort of, Souls-like nature of the first game. Not only that, but you have to play the game using PlayStation Plus, which means that when you're going through a stage, you might run into other players. And guess what? The other players are going to try to kill you, to steal your equipment. So let's say you get through Chapter 1, which consists of 2 stages. You get into Chapter 2, start the first stage for Chapter 2, run into another player, they kill you. You have to go all the way back to the beginning because of some bastard that you're being forced to share the stage with. And while there is an option to go into the stages without running into the other players, your body rank, whatever the hell that is, basically it's the thing that's going to give you more attack power or more health or better guard. You cannot earn any of that. So you're essentially choosing between making your character more powerful versus not running into some dickhead online who's going to try to kill you. Again, completely unfair. Again, disappointment. Another thing I absolutely detested is the fact that this game, for some bizarre reason, even though the original Let It Die had it, does not allow you to lock onto enemies. That's right, you cannot lock onto enemies. So you might occasionally find yourself, like I did, going to attack an enemy, they move out of the way, and you end up attacking the bloody thin air. Completely unfair. So, it has to be said, this is probably, I haven't thought long and hard about it, but probably the most disappointing game experience I've had all year, because I was genuinely looking forward to this game, especially knowing that I was going to have bloody 300 death metal, which the game in its description when you're buying it doesn't tell you works completely different in this than it did in the original game. So no, game developer, I will not be continuing to play your game. And get this, The game is going to work in seasons, and at the end of every single season, you are going to have all of your progress wiped. That's right. So all of the story progress you've made, probably all of the weapons you have, probably how much you've upgraded your character, all of that is going to get wiped. But worry not, dear viewer, because that elusive currency I've mentioned more than once in this video, your death metal, will be retained. What a coincidence, because it's the one thing in the game that you have to buy with microtransactions. And one final thing I will say, this is a bit of a nitpick, probably my own fault, but with my pre-order I was also given a weapon, armor for my character, and the game didn't tell me that if I'm using said equipment, the first time I died I lost all of that, even though they were pre-order items. Again, completely unfair. So you don't even have to ask me what I think about this game, dear viewers. I've told you about 50 times in the video already. Let It Die Inferno is a disappointed! So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, my review for Let It Die Inferno. If you enjoyed this little review of mine, don't forget to give me a thumbs up. If you haven't enjoyed it, well then feel free to give me a thumbs down. But please remember the single most important thing I always tell you, dear viewer, and that is to always stay obsessed with gaming. Are you still here? Oh, you must have really enjoyed this video then. In that case, you had better subscribe to the channel and check out our other content. Otherwise, you're a booby pants, and no one wants to be a booby pants.